Alright everybody, so I have got here a Cal Kestis custom minifig, of course. I've got my BD1 droid, his double-bladed lightsaber, and today we're going to build the Dathomir Swamps of Sacrifice, which is part of one of the levels, being Dathomir in Jedi Fallen Order, the video game. Excellent game, if I do say so myself. Fantastic storyline, and Dathomir has always been one of my favorite Star Wars locations, and it is an excellent rendition in the video game to be found there. So I recommend playing through that. And in there, we've got, in Dathomir, there's a lot of features about the planet that I have really wanted to make for a long time that I've never seen in other Dathomir builds. Usually you see them in medium nougat and dark orange. Those are great colors to really grasp the Dathomir palette. But I want to make some of the flora that you see there, the big twisting vines, the faces carved into the sides of the cliffs there. So that's what we're going to tackle today, is that part of what you see in the video game. There at the bottom of the chasm there where the Swamps of Sacrifice are. So let's go ahead and get our base going for the build and see where we go. Okay, our base is done here. 2 plates high. Basically, this is 6 8x8 plates by 4 8x8 plates. We'll have a few ponds here for our swamps here at the Swamps of Sacrifice. We'll have a cliff base back here. So let's go ahead, first things first, get the important things in. Let's go ahead and get some water in here and see how that looks. All right, here's how I envision the water going. So I've basically got one done. So I think I'll have like 3 pieces of water out here, and we'll have a cliff. So here's our base, just black pieces. And then I've got sand green with dark green to kind of show water depth. And then I've got these transbutiles on them. And then I'll build a border kind of around these things, kind of straighten these edges out. And then we'll put filler brick in between all of it. Right, so let's go ahead and see how the water looks with it done. All right, we've got our little pools of water here for the Swamps of Sacrifice, and you'll see I went ahead and got some of it really just edged off right here. And what we're going to do then now is go over here to our pile of gray filler brick, and then we'll just start filling all this in as we go along here, and then cover the whole thing this way. And then our water level will be flush this way with the 2 studs tall this way border. So that's how we're going to do it. We'll come back when we're done with this. Now that we have got all of our brick in the middle put in here, we can go ahead and put our modified bricks with studs on the side around the edges, and then we will put our border on. All right. Okay, we're ready to put our borders on. Borders always make these small to mid-sized builds look so good and clean. I know some people do spillovers, or they just have the terrain kind of taper off as their borders, and that's nice. But for me, I really like the closed borders, look really defined lines like a chessboard. I like that. So here we go. Nice curved black frame around this that's flush with the build top, flush with the water level, right? And I just think that is just a really nice, clean design. And now what we need to do is build our superstructure back here. We're going to do 4 studs deep to have it be really sturdy, come up to about here probably. And then we'll build our cliff face, put one of the big face statues that you see in the game, Fallen Order there. And then we'll go from there and doing more terrain design. Let's get started on that superstructure. Okay, so we've got the beginnings of the superstructure that's going to hold up and be the sturdy backdrop for the cliff face. So I've got to duplicate this maybe 2 more times. I think we'll have it about 3 times the size of this. I'm going to go ahead and skip straight to the end of that because this is just boring, monotonous work that I'm sure nobody wants to see. All right. All right, the superstructure for our cliff wall is done. So we've got our modified bricks with studs on the side built in all the way around so that we can not only build up the front but also build the sides out and kind of make it a little less square, if you will. All right, let's get going on that. All right, now we just need to cover this wall with this, and we've got it about 1 plate high exactly, such that when we set this down, we'll be able to put tile right up against here and it'll be flush. So that's how that's gonna work. All right, so we're ready to go with starting our cliff face. And we'll maybe put an outline of where we want the face carving to go. Okay, so I wanted to go ahead and get this face started on the side of this cliff here. And we're gonna just put it slightly offset, off center, just to make it look a little more natural in the landscape. So we've gone ahead and put down some tiles around the edge where I want this to be, and we'll have this thing come out flush with this. And then once we'll take it from here and kind of blend it out into some better terrain pieces here. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I think we'll stop at the top of the face here and work our way down. All right, I've got the top part of the head started for this big face that's going to be on the side of this cliff. So what we're doing is just kind of putting in a slice at a time. Some of it's half a brick offset, some of it's a full brick offset, just to try to get something of that shape here. We'll come out this way and then we'll taper it back down. You can see we've already got tile put down so that it can overlap flush here like this. So let's go ahead and get another section of face in here and just see how this looks. All right, you can see what we're doing here. We've got these things basically just in split up little sections that we can just add in as we move along. And I've got them offset using jumper plates by a half stud to give us a little bit finer gradual curve to this face. All right, so we'll go ahead and get that done and then finish the rest of this out. Okay, now we can go ahead and get the bottom part built up here. Took me a minute to get this design just right, and then we'll fit the mouth in there, and then we'll put a nose on him and see how it looks. All right, our face is done. I think it turned out okay. Obviously, some of the curves that you have, these should be more of an arch right here, but there's just only so much you can do when you're dealing with round edges and curves and all that. I think this came out really good for what you can do with Lego. So I'm sure someone at some point with enough money and time and talent could make something better than this, but I think this suits our build just right. This will be good. Okay, now that we're done with that, the next thing we need to do is build up the sides a little bit. I want to have this kind of wedge out here and wedge out a little bit here. And then we'll mound this up and blend it all in and have kind of a nice natural looking cliff face here. Okay, so let's move on with that. All right, now we've got these edges here that we can attach. We can have this come out and overlap a bit, so we've got a little bit of maybe a wedge shape off of either side of this thing. So now we can go ahead and build up some terrain here, and then we'll blend this in and make it look like the face is a natural carving into the side of this mountain. And isn't my wife nice? How she brought me some little garlic breads to do this while I work on all this. So, all right, let's go ahead and get these attached and start putting some shape onto this. All right, got this side built up. Let's go ahead and build up a ridge, a smaller one, over on the right-hand side. Okay, we've got some, I guess you want to call it terrain texture built up here. So for some uneven cliff wall there, so we've kind of got the face sunken in where it's been kind of carved out. So we'll have a big ridge right here, a smaller one here. We'll go ahead and start adding the nougat and dark orange texture on here. All right, now we just got our right side left, and then we'll take a look at how this cliff wall appears. All right, there's our cliff wall with the face on it, and that is where it's going to be positioned. The next thing we need to do is fill in tile under here and help this be flush, and then we can fill in our terrain. All right, so now we've got this thing flush. Since we've got it built one plate higher than everything else, that means you can put tile at the base right along the edge there so that it's flush. That's how we'll accomplish that. So we'll go ahead and tighten this down and come back. And as does so often happen, Casanova, the lovable fuzzball Lego cat, has come in to see what we are working on. He always does this. You'll remember him many times if you've seen my time-lapse videos. He always comes and sits and watches those. He likes to be involved. Very sweet, good little buddy for these kinds of projects. Isn't that right? Isn't that right? You're so sweet. We are now done with our cliff face. The big sculpture looks good. And now I am going to go ahead and pick up down here and start putting in the same color motif in tile and plate down here, and get started on that. I will go ahead and just do that in one big pass. It's a rather monotonous task laying down terrain. I'm just going to go ahead and do that real quick and we'll come back. All right, we are done putting a base down, continuing the same color scheme here, the medium nougat with the dark orange, which are just chef's kiss fantastic with each other in Lego. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pour out some of this, I guess this is olive green, these pieces here. We're going to go ahead and start putting in the algae coated rock around these pools of water here. All right, here's the beginning of the, what I would guess are algae, kind of algae coated rock around the Swamps of Sacrifice, very shallow pools of water. We'll go ahead and connect this around this one here and kind of have one seamless bit of this stuff across the floor here of this canyon. Coming along well, I think. Let's knock out that last section. There's our water, our swamps. It is exactly how I wanted it to turn out, so fantastic. We will move on now to putting in some of these big woody vines, whatever those things are. We'll start over here where we've left a little patch open, build this up, and then we'll work our way around the bottom here of the Swamps of Sacrifice. All right, this gives us a start here, something of an idea of building up kind of a base there, and then having vines, the big woody vines that come out. And then the next thing we're going to do, something that you see a lot of in Fallen Order, the video game, but also it's in the Clone Wars too, is we're going to build some of these big, what do you call it? Fruit pods, seed pods, whatever you want to call it. In the game, they're kind of a reddish to dark reddish as they hang there. So I just went ahead and used regular red, dark red, and put these together to kind of give that appearance as best as you can with Lego. And then what we're going to do here is I've gone ahead and just made some makeshift seed pods. We're going to see about hanging these things here. Just have a look at how this works out. So let's go ahead and try that out. All right, so there's kind of a sample. Just wanted to get our eyes on it to see how this color palette looks of the big fruit pods that hang down there in Dathomir, both in the Clone Wars and in the video game here, Fallen Order. And now what we're going to do, let's go ahead and really just start adding in some bigger pieces here. just gonna, you know, at random go ahead and make big vine pieces like this. We'll just try to attach them around all throughout here. And just to show you all how these things work, you can make these things like this using these kind of pieces. And I'll show you, connect these. You can make these really go any angle you want, right? They've got an axle port in there, if you want to call it that. And you just use these tiny little red pieces at your leisure. You can really just make these things go any direction, right? So that's how these work. I'll go ahead and put this back together, and then we're gonna get this in here and just see how this looks. All right, I think this is really looking good. This is really, really looking good. Let's go ahead and knock out this patch right here. Okay, so we've got these big branches done and all the accessory branches around it and all that. Got some of our fruit in there. Let's go ahead and add a nice little touch to this. We're going to wrap these smaller vines, which I have constructed using these flexible pieces with just some little branch pieces in there, connect them together, and we'll just wrap these around just very randomly in here. All right, let's do that. All right, this looks fairly good. It's not something that immediately jumps out at you, but when you look for it, you can see that it's there, wrapped around. You got the big vines, of course, the really big branchy vines, but then you've got the little ones just winding around, wrapped around, little doodads coming out, just how I wanted it to look. All right, very good. Now that we've got a good idea of how this is gonna look, just to kind of get these vines in here and really look at our terrain, let's go ahead and start working on the surface of the cliff up there, the top of the cliff, so we can build this up and then connect it so that we're not just looking at the bottom here, because the bottom of this canyon area is the swamps. We need to connect it with all the overhead terrain. So let's go ahead and start working on it over here. First section of clip top is done. Let's go ahead and finish off the rest. Okay, so our cliff top here is ready to go. You can see I've kind of started already on where we're going to put a big clump of vine right here that will go down and connect in here. I want to have this wrapped down. So let's go ahead and get this chunk in here now. Okay, here's the first part. You can see we've got it linked up here, had that big chunk of vine wrap up this way. Now it is up here, and kind of that's where we'll have its terminal end there. We'll go ahead and build another big trunk branch right here and maybe finish off with a little bit over there. Okay, so there's that all done on top, and you can see now it really brings the whole top and bottom of the build together. Really this part here and then a little bit over here, just really want it to be connected up and down. So you've got a full view there visually with the pieces. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the foliage. So next phase we're going to work on is adding in these just random little doodads, random bits and pieces coming up as it is all throughout the game. Just random little plants that fit in here with the color scheme. We'll start up here and go ahead and top off the cliff surface up here. All right, here's how it looks up here. We've got some of our little vines and doodads coming out, got our little dark red plants scattered in here. It really does well with the color palette of Dathomir. In addition to our plants here, we're also going to put in something around 40 of these little mushrooms. Now these aren't quite the color that I wanted. I know that this particular angled piece comes in nougat, and then I would have rather used maybe a tan or something, a dark tan for this, but I had already spent so much money on all these brown pieces right here, the macaroni pieces, that I had these. It was good enough, so we went with it. I didn't really feel like spending another $10 on just that little accessory, but it would have been nice. But then there's my thinking behind that. So let's go ahead and put in a patch of these. Okay, so we got our first patch of the little orange mushrooms in there. Let's just go ahead and finish out. I think we might do a patch back here, maybe a little patch around this front portion here. We'll also fill in with the rest of the dark red plants. All right, we've got all our plants in, all the mushrooms, seed pods, all that. Our little dark red plants everywhere. So now we're ready for the final part. We are ready for our final touches, which involves our 2 minifigs. So first of all, of course, Cal Kestis. We'll have him sprinting through the swamps here. We'll go ahead and get him in here as well. Put him tagging along right behind him. Now we can take a look at our finished work. So Dathomir, the Swamps of Sacrifice from Jedi Fallen Order. Here we go. We've got all of our big winding trunks of vines and things that grow through the whole of Dathomir there. We've got the big face, just like in the video game. Got the big cliff walls. We've got our terrain on top. I wanted to have the top and bottom linked together with these woody vines, so you can see that the top and bottom blends together for a full picture. Wanted to have the water that's just ever so shallow, but lying around at the bottom of this, what I guess you would call a canyon or whatever. And then we've got our mushrooms, we've got those big fruit seed pods, whatever they are, that are littered around Dathomir. So there we go. That's our finished product. I hope you all have enjoyed this video, and now we'll go ahead and roll the still shots.